Hello and welcome to the Our Prenup Lawyer podcast, where you and I get to learn more about prenups as I interview professionals from the fields of family law, couples counseling, and wealth management. I'm your host, Libby Garabedian. Let's get started. The information provided in this podcast is prepared by Our Prenup Lawyer for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. The information is not intended to create an attorney-client relationship. This is not legal advice or a substitute for obtaining legal advice from an attorney. A person listening or watching should not rely upon it in any manner without engaging professional counsel. The podcast is intended to communicate general information and, because recorded, may not be current. On this episode of the Our Prenup Lawyer podcast, I'm joined by Beth Slate. Beth is the founder of Insight Divorce Solutions and a seasoned professional whose life work centers on helping people heal, grow, and move forward with confidence. With more than 40 years of experience as a business consultant and 2 decades partnering with law firms, she blends strategic insight with compassionate, heart-centered guidance. As a certified divorce coach, mediator, and change management practitioner with academic training in psychology, sociology, and family development, she brings a holistic, client-focused approach to every case. Through Insight Divorce Solutions, she supports individuals and families in finding clarity, strength, and stability during life's most difficult transitions. Welcome, Beth.
Thank you, Libby. It's good to be here.
Let's get started. And I want to ask you first about Insight Divorce Solutions. How did you come up with this idea? Because it's so unique.
It is unique, isn't it? It's not your typical divorce coach situation. Well, so I have been a law firm consultant for 20 years, and many of my clients were family law attorneys. And I noticed that there were some real pain points for lawyers in the divorce process. And that is, they love their work. They love the negotiation and strategy and representation, but they get lost when it comes to the emotions and the empathy and then the day in and day out, needs of their clients. At the same time, I recognized there wasn't any real support for the average person in divorce. And so I took my consulting and pivoted it into this unique company. So we are in our first year and we are already spreading nationwide.
That's amazing. That's so great how you were able to identify a problem and you came up with such a creative solution for it. So what kind of professionals do you have on your team at Insight Divorce Solutions?
Yeah, great question. So to be honest, most divorce coaches are going to work one-on-one with an individual or a client. And so they can take as many calls they can do in a week. I wanted to change the way that we do divorce in the world, really. We're going to start with the United States, but, and that is, I have coaches throughout the United States. Right now, after just a few months, we've got 6 coaches. Some of them are specialists in certain areas. And then I have additional team members with certifications in things like high conflict co-parenting, certified divorce financial analyst, certified divorce lending professionals, certified somatic recovery therapists, certified career transition people. So we have all of our certified divorce coaches. But in addition, we have people that are trained in all the little particular areas that need that extra bit of training and education. And so that is a growing arena for us. So we've got people in every state.
That's amazing. I want to dive into these certifications of these professionals you have on your team. And I first want to talk about, you are a certified change practitioner, correct?
Yes.
So what does that mean for those of us who are unfamiliar?
Right. So, most people think of it in a business sense. When you want to affect a change in business, you really need to understand how does that happen and what's the behavior and then the actions that go along with that. I've actually used it in business, but I'm also using it now in one way, helping law firms change the way that they handle divorce, but also on the one-on-one. Okay, look, you're going through change. So let's acknowledge the emotions and let's develop structure and plans and behaviors of how we're going to work through that so there's less trauma.
Okay. That's so interesting, that approach you take to it. Now, how does collaboration work with someone like a certified change practitioner and a divorce coach?
So I am both of those.
Okay.
So I train my coaches on the change management, which is behavioral change and then action plans and how that looks. They already have a lot of good training in it. I just have an extra layer to it, honestly.
Okay. Now, as a certified guardian ad litem for custody cases, um, obviously you're stepping into a very important role. Can you tell me a little bit about how you decided to do this and how it's essential to your practice?
Yeah. So I have been in business for a very long time, and it's been important for me to do things that I feel help to heal others, things that are making the world a better place. So, for about 11 years, I was a certified, and I still am, but I certified as a guardian ad litem in custody cases. And what that means is mom and dad come in, or two parents come in, and they're fighting over the children. And it's they said, right? So this parent is saying, oh, the other parent is an alcoholic. And this one's saying, well, that parent has an anger management problem. And the judge hears this so often that they don't know who to believe. So they would hire me to come in and I would do an investigation and I would talk to them and I would talk to their kids and I would talk to family members and doctors and therapists and school teachers, and I would look at records and all those things. And then I would write a report to try to make sense of it and make recommendations for the children. And I worked in about 13 different counties in our state, which is unusual, handled over 100 cases. And some of them were serious enough that it was like murder suicide.
Wow.
Of parent to children. So a lot of serious families in real crisis. And that has really informed a lot of, my heart work in this. We have got to reduce the conflict, especially for children, but for everyone involved. There's got to be a better way to do this.
So how does bringing in professionals like the ones you mentioned previously and people like you who have a number of certifications help with the custody process and help address different areas, whether it's emotional, psychological, that divorce is affecting throughout all of this?
I'll tell you, the way that the model has been so far is the law is the arena for divorce. That means lawyers are the people that are moving it forward, generally. Okay. Unfortunately, their mastery is in the negotiation, the representation, the legal strategy of the business of divorce. But what people don't realize is that there's actually 4 divorces happening when you get a divorce. There's the legal one. There's the emotional one, there's the social one, and there's the financial one. And so we sit in front of the lawyer, we're a hot mess, and we're at that point where we know our life is going to change. So we move into what we call the sympathetic nervous system, where you're like fight, flight, freeze, mine, because we're afraid of loss. And so people that, like myself and my team and others in our industry, are helping to support people in those different arenas so that they can make better decisions, go through this with less fear, come out the other side with less trauma. And so previously, you'd have an attorney who would, you'd call them up every day. And then this happened. And then this happened. And I didn't know what to do. And my ex is so horrible. And then pretty soon, the lawyer stopped taking your calls and they're just not quite available. And can you just send it in an email? And so then you don't feel supported. And it just becomes this vicious cycle. So one of the things that we do, and that's unique to my company, is we work with law firms to offer free divorce coaching to their clients. And so we help them on a number of different arenas. And one of them is, how do you have a good relationship with your attorney? And the first is, stop using them as a therapist. It's going to save you some money, first of all, but also, like, that's not their mastery. So you may have a house to sell. Attorneys don't know what that process looks like and how both parties can be supported so there's less conflict. But the real estate agents that have that certification have been trained on, what do the orders need to look like so we can get this sold without a lot of conflict? What are the things that need to be communicated to each party, and how do we get them in and out of the house without there being problems? Same thing for high conflict co-parenting, which is a really big issue. So when you're talking about high conflict, oftentimes it can just be one party, right? And so lawyers don't know how to deal with it on an emotional and relational basis. They can say, if it gets this bad, we'll go spend another $1,500, take it to court and see if the judge will help us. That isn't always the best way to do it. So one of the things we teach our clients is, okay, here are some tips and tricks and tools of how you're going to deal with this person that is not working with you. And so we have everything from technology that helps you communicate to ways to communicate through writing, or, we limit the way that we do that, how we respond or not respond to things. Again, there are lots of tools that we as divorce coaches and specialists can help you with. Again, if you can get through that with less conflict, everybody starts healing faster.
Now, I want to touch on the services that you offer for law firms, individuals, and corporations, because it's amazing how you have these three areas, because divorce extends beyond just the marriage. So we've talked a little bit about law firms. Can you tell us about the individual resources you offer?
Yes. So one of the things that, just briefly, when I was a guardian ad litem, I went to a continuing education class. They had a great answer to how to use a guardian ad litem. It was just only $30,000. And I went, my clients don't have $30,000 in addition to what they pay the attorney. So I said, do you have any proposals on how to do that? And they went, no. So it was important to me that whatever solutions I come up with, anybody could be a part of it. So individuals can come to me and work in a couple of different ways. You hear me on the street, you get referred to me, you can do group coaching with me. It's very, very affordable. And in that group coaching, I have a 12-week program. You get videos, you get a 76-page workbook journal with more resources and more things you can do and more prompts and forms and templates and all of those things. And then you go to your group coaching class and bring your questions, bring your insight. So they can do that. It's just a few $100s. If they want to do private calls with us, you can just do private calls. We also have a signature program where there are people who have houses they've got to sell and finances they've got to separate, and careers that are going to be impacted if they've got to go back to work now, those types of things. And so we have everything you could possibly need, plus we pay for you to get in front of the experts like the financial planners and the high conflict parenting people and the career transition people. No cost to you for that. So individuals can do that. But the best way to do it is when you get an attorney, tell them to use us as their service, because the attorney becomes our client, and then they offer free group coaching in that program I just talked about at no cost for you.
Okay, that's amazing. So then you can, not only does the attorney or their firm have all these resources available, but it also saves their time, and it saves a lot of the mental load for their clients.
And that's really key, because you want that attorney to want to pick up the phone when you call. And when you have gone through the emotions with your divorce coach, planned out what it is you want to ask for or whatever, and then you go to the attorney, They love that. They love that. So yeah, it's a win-win for everybody. The third way is through corporations. And again, this is a little of a game changer. It's groundbreaking in the sense that we are working with any company that wants to add us as a benefit, and the company pays nothing. And every employee gets one free laser coaching session with us. So let's say, for example, you are struggling after divorce and your co-parent is just high conflict and the kids are starting to suffer. You can work with us, and in that call, we'll devise a plan of how you're going to respond and what you're going to do. If you need more work, you can engage with us. There's a corporate discount for that. But again, we are making the companies that are leading the ones that are bearing that burden. And for corporations, there's no cost. And we all know we don't leave our divorce mindset at the door. We make mistakes. We are distracted. We have hard days. We're missing because of court or whatever it is. So, yeah.
So what kind of positive impact have you seen on, we'll say, corporations, firms, but also individuals' lives through Insight Divorce Solutions?
Right there is from our very first corporate client. It was amazing because within 5 minutes of their corporate company saying, hey, you have this benefit, they were on the books with us. Wow. And so I met with them, and the court had ordered that they have a high conflict co-parenting coach. So they're now continuing to work with us. And this little thank you note is, I did not know how I was going to get through the rest of this year. I felt like waking up in the morning, the only thing that kept me here was knowing I had to be here for my kids. And now that I have you guys, and you are such an amazing support, I feel encouraged and I see things changing, and I actually wake up happy. And I was like, oh, that's the best. I love it. And so, that's why we do this. Because I think we have this hypersensitive independence, and there's some shame that goes along with that. I should be able to handle all of it. No, this is a life-changing moment. This is when you need to reach out to those people that can at least hold the space for you and guide you into, building a better life than you even had before. And so if we can make that something that is affordable, then do it.
That's so great. And it's amazing to have that kind of feedback and affirm what you're doing is working.
Yeah. I will say that the attorneys are like, when they do this, they're like, I cannot believe the difference in how I'm interacting with my clients. And I am loving my job again. And I went, okay. And there it is. Now we have the win-win. So yeah, it feels pretty good, actually.
No, that's great. Now, what advice would you give to individuals going through a divorce?
Yeah. I think the best advice I could give is to not discount that this is going to be one of the most ridiculously stressful times in your life. And there is a lot that's going to change. Your social circle will be impacted. Emotionally, it is going to be a wild roller coaster ride. And I think that even the most resilient of us need to recognize that we need support. We need somebody who's been there, who can help ask you the right questions to unfold the future that's really inside of you, and that is, your highest and best. And I think that it's okay to have a tribe and need resources, because 1 and 1 doesn't always make 2. Sometimes it makes 50. And so if you can come out of this picking up the gems of whatever lessons you need to learn, but also at that same time building a future that is more aligned to who you are in a easier way, then great, you get to move on. So I just think my advice is stop trying to pretend like you're fine. You don't need anything. You're going to get through it, and recognize this is a big deal. If you want to pull everything out of it to build a better life, you might need some help.
You don't know what you don't know in this case.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. I just think every person I talk to that's been through a divorce and has gone through the other side, when I talk to them now, goes, oh man, I wish I'd known about you back when I was in a divorce. I could have used it. Because what we don't tell everybody is we feel alone and we're scared about tomorrow. And yeah, okay, we have a job, but it's like, how are we going to pay the bills on 50% of an income now? And how am I going to be there for my kids every day? And oh my God, when they're not here, am I going to fall apart? And it's like, those are all valid things. Let's talk about it.
That's great. Yeah, a lot of people don't necessarily want to admit they can't do it on their own, but it's great to have these resources like you provide to support them.
If you're any kind of a independent person, yeah, we kind of revel in that. I think it actually hobbles you a bit. So.
Now, as we wrap up, I do want to ask you, you have a speaking engagement coming up.
I do. I do. I'm so excited because, again, most divorce coaches kind of just work one-on-one alone, and that's it. I'm out to change the way we do divorce. And so I have just been told that I will be a national speaker at the National Conference for the Association of Family and Conciliation Courts. That is the educational research and standardizing body internationally for families that are in divorce. And so I'll be talking about how we need to move toward a more integrated approach to dealing with divorce. So I'm pretty excited about that. That'll be in May of 2026.
That is exciting and such an amazing opportunity. And hopefully if people are interested, they'll check it out.
Yeah.
And if listeners are interested in connecting with you, what's the best way to reach you?
Easiest way is to go onto the website, which is www.coachingthroughdivorce.com. They can go right to the work with us, set up an appointment. Your first call is free. And again, we do things a little differently. This is not going to be a sales call. This is, you got an issue, bring it. Let's see if we can work through it. And then you can also reach out to me at Beth@coachingthroughdivorce.com. That'll get right to me, and I'll send you a calendar link and let's talk.
That's great. Thank you, Beth. And we'll include that information in the show notes so people can access it there. Thank you so much for being on the episode today.
Oh, Livy, it's been a real honor. Thank you so much for including me. I am very grateful.
Of course. That's our show, folks. Thank you for listening to Our Prenup Lawyer. Make sure to like and subscribe, and feel free to drop a comment below. Follow us on Instagram at Our Prenup Lawyer, and listen to us on Spotify, iHeart, Apple Podcasts, Audible, and watch us on YouTube. See you guys next time.